I know it's a really hot day outside, so I hope you have a cool drink next to your laptop. I'd like to extend a special welcome to Permanent Secretary for Transport of the Berlin Senate Department for Environment, Transport and Climate Protection, Mr. Ingmar Streze. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Mr. Streze. And I am also here today with one of our participants, Luca. Over the past few days, she's participated in the workshops and she's exchanged ideas with our experts. So Luca, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and your motivation to be part of YCCB?
Hi everyone, I'm Luca, I'm 19, and at the moment I'm working for a charitable foundation which has a focus on ecological and social transformation. And I joined the YCCB because I feel committed to live and fight for the change I want to see in the world, and I just want to take part in the decisions that we make today, and which will not just affect us, but also all the future generations. And yeah, I just thought it's a great opportunity to have an exchange with other people and in my age, and just get also in contact with the politicians here. Yeah.
Thank you, Luca. And that is certainly a great motivation to be part of the change for the future. That is exactly what YCCB is about. And I really hope that you were able to fulfill these expectations over the past 2 days. For those of you who weren't part of YCCB over the past 2 days, but maybe followed us over the live stream, I now have a quick look back on the past events that we've had. So yesterday we had a fantastic intro with Mrs. Elena Viškar from the European Commission and the YouTuber Jakob Bouton. Elena told us a lot about the EU's climate policy initiative, the European Green Deal. And she also told us that really all sectors have to play a part in this initiative. So she talked about aviation, she talked about the building and construction industry, about many other industries. And one encouraging point that I took away from her speech was really that she told us that climate policy only became the EU's top priority after young climate activists, led by Greta Thunberg, but certainly not limited to Greta Thunberg, but spread out all across Europe. After those activists banded together and really made their voices heard, that's when climate became the top priority of the EU Commission. And I think that's a really, really encouraging sign that shows us how far activism can take us. And she also talked a lot about the power of collaboration, of coming together around this one goal, making your voice heard. So I think she gave a really, really inspiring and empowering speech. And then next up was Jakob, who told us about his recent project Utopia, where he basically lived under a glass dome for 5 days with a couple of other YouTubers and influencers, but also with frequent guests from politics, from the entertainment industry, from science and research. And they focused on finding sustainable ways of living and exploring them further. And something that really stuck with me from this talk was how hard it was for Jakob and his team to recreate a biotope comparable to the Earth under this dome. So a lot of scientific experts have tried this, but it was so hard because the Earth that we live on is unique and it's special, and it's the only planet that we have. And I think Jakob's experiment really shows how special the Earth is and how hard we need to work to preserve it, because it's the only one we have, the only planet we will flourish on. Jakob also talked about finger pointing and about the fact that nobody's perfect, that we don't have to be perfect climate activists. We shouldn't point fingers at each other, but we should reward the little steps that every one of us is taking towards a more sustainable lifestyle. After that, we had the workshops. There were 3 workshops on the climate field of actions of the YCCB. There was 1 workshop on energy and economy, 1 workshop on buildings and urban development and adaptation to climate change, and 1 workshop on private households and consumption and transport. And at this point, I would like to extend a big thank you to our partners from Kipppunkt Kollektiv, who ran the workshops, who gave us an excellent intro on climate protection and on the YCCB field of actions, and talked about things like the CO2 budget and aspects of climate justice. And after that, our participants had the chance to work in these workshops together with high-profile experts on each field of action. So at this point, also a big thank you to these experts who are very busy people and have really taken the time to enter a dialogue with the young participants. So a big thank you to Dr. Dala Nickel, who's director of the Berlin Rainwater Agency, Farah Mohammadzadeh Valencia, who's an energy consultant, Dr. Fritz Reuswig from the Potsdam Institute of Climate Impact Research, Florian Köhl, who's an architect, Tobias Jennecke, the founder of the Circulate to Innovate, and Professor Felix Kreuzig from the Mercator Research Institute on Global Commons and Climate Change. Together with these experts, participants developed visions and ideas and came up with a whole catalogue of ideas. But there were also kind of topics that came back within each field of action and across all of them. And those are things that really could and should be implemented in the further development of BEK 2030, which is Berlin's Energy and Climate Protection Program. So Luca, as a participant in the workshops, I would like to ask you, which workshop did you attend?
Well, actually, when I registered, I was really hard for me to make a decision. But in the end, I was in economics and energy workshop, and afterwards we also take a bit part in transport. And we talked a lot about, or should I just say it now or later? Maybe you all can say what you think.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last word. Could you just repeat it briefly?
Okay, so I wasn't sure, should I tell you what we did now, or maybe Mila can tell us which workshop she attended?
Why don't you go ahead with the key points that you took away from the workshop, or maybe your favorite idea as well, and then we'll get to Mila.
I think what stuck most in my head was that we already have the technologies to live a more climate-friendly life, and also, like, especially with energy, we have like green energy, so we have solar panels, but it's still very difficult to, with the legal framework for private households to get solar panels. So that should definitely get easier and also more attractive. And yeah, so that was what most stuck to me. And then afterwards in the transport workshop, we worked out the claim that we want to have more protected bike lines, especially on the bigger streets, because if it's not just for the climate's sake, then for the protection of the people, of the bikers' lives, because every year, like 10 or 20 people die in Berlin from car crashes, and it should be the government's duty to protect the bicycles drivers. So yeah, so that was our claim, basically. That we have more bicycle streets and more protected bike lanes.
That's actually an excellent point that you're making, that things that help the climate or help protect the climate can actually also be really helpful or beneficial to humans and things like human health. And basically protect lives as well. So I think it's a great way to point out the synergies that we have between climate policies, but also between other policy fields. We've now been joined by another participant as well who had some technical issues before. I'm pretty sure all of our viewers are probably familiar with technical issues that sometimes come up with Zoom. We all have 1 year of experience with that. So it's great that you managed to join us now. Welcome, Mila. Tell us a bit about yourself and why you joined the YCCB conference.
Yes, so my name is Mila and I live in Berlin, but I'm attending an English school. And I got the link from a teacher and I found it immediately interesting and joined because I thought it would be a great experience. You'd learn a lot and you could actually make a change. And I just love nature and the whole earth. So I think it's definitely worth saving. Yeah, it was a great experience. I wasn't disappointed.
That's absolutely great to hear. Which workshop did you attend?
I signed up for private household consumption and transport. And we concentrated a lot of transport because I think many people were interested in that. I, for example, live on a like a really big street, and it's always really loud, crowded with cars. It's sort of dirty, and it starts early in the morning, and it's really annoying. And we talked a lot about how we could make it greener, but also nicer for the people who live in the surroundings. So we obviously looked a lot to bicycles and bicycle lanes and safe travels, and maybe banning cars or making cars an exception as soon as possible, with obviously like having exceptions for people who are in need of cars.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're basically drawn to some of the same things that Luca pointed out as well, that improving things, making things more climate neutral can actually really improve the quality of life for every single one of us as well. Is there a favorite idea that you took away, like one thing that you'd say Berlin should really implement that?
I think it's definitely the bike lines. I love biking, but it's really dangerous. Like, I live in the middle of the city, and the streets are crowded with cars. They're way too fast, and it's really dangerous. So I think implementing bike lines would, first of all, promote a lot of people to take the bike instead of the car for several reasons, like health, and it's also just nicer. And it's safer and it's more fun. So you feel better doing it. You can take your children to school. So you'd not be in need of cars that much anymore.
Yeah, I think that is a great point, and personally, I really agree. Biking could be made a lot better and safer in Berlin, so I do hope that that is being taken up. We've collected a lot more of ideas also in the other workshops. So there was a workshop on energy economy, buildings, and the participants came up with the whole catalog of ideas. There were many more ideas that we can't kind of expand on simply because we have limited time. But it's interesting that there were also a couple of common findings. So one thing that was frequently pointed out was that social justice and climate justice need to play a bigger role. And there's definitely still room of improvement for that. And also that more citizen participation should take place, and especially it should definitely incorporate more young people, because young people will be living in Berlin for still quite a while. And I think that's why YCCV has been such a great start for that. And especially big thank you to both of our participants who've been a part of that, and who I hope feel like they had a little say in the future of Berlin's climate neutrality. So thank you so much to you both, Luca and Mila, for being here today with us, for sharing your experiences and telling us about the most important ideas for Berlin's future. Now, all of these ideas that we mentioned could and should play a role when BECAT 2030 is developed further, which is why I'm very, very honored to have today in this call someone who's working closely on the Berlin Energy and Climate Protection Program. Welcome to Permanent Secretary for Transport of the Senate Department for Environment, Transport and Climate Protection, Mr. Ingmar Streze. I think we're all very honored to have you here. And with this call, we deliver to you our ideas for Berlin's green and climate neutral future. And there's also a document with all of the other ideas that will be delivered to the Senate by email. So now I would like to leave the floor to you for a couple of minutes to give us your views on the ideas that we've just introduced, and tell us about how they could be implemented in the Berlin of the future, maybe. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very much impressed of your energy, activity, dedication. I admire such energy for climate change mitigation. I personally, in my last years in different jobs, I was very much working against climate change towards climate protection. And we in Berlin feel ourselves as a kind of front runner, especially in transport policy, but not only there, but also in climate policy as well. You mentioned social, that it must be socially fair, this kind of energy transition, mobility transition. That's one of our ambitions. That's why we say, well, we have to get people along when we do change, and mobility is probably much more a change than if you just change your electricity provider. They'll just send a letter to somewhere and everything's still the same. Apart from that, you've got now a new green electricity. But if you have to change your transport modes, you will perhaps get rid of your car, take a bus, take a bike lane, walk more and more than you've done it before. And one of our great ambitions is with our first mobility law, that's the first one in Germany as well, a comprehensive law towards promotion of public transport, of bicycle traffic and pedestrian traffic, to reduce the modal split of cars and lorries towards these environmental modes of transport. This is a 5, 10, maybe 15 years development. If we look towards Copenhagen or Amsterdam, who have started earlier, they needed 30 or 40 years. We have to be, and we want to be much quicker. We have already started. Well, we haven't been all over Berlin yet with new bicycle lanes, but some of them are already protected. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, we have created some 130 kilometers new bicycle lanes, and it will be more and more. Our ambition is to create 2,600 kilometers until 2030, which is roughly 250 to 300 a year. And if you divide that into the 12 boroughs we have, then it's not as much as it sounds in the beginning, but still it's a great ambition. And still we have to be sure that we also think about the socially, the people who don't earn so much money. We have to ensure the climate protection is socially fair on a global or European or at least German level in terms of carbon dioxide taxation. There has to be a kind of compensation measures to people. Then you get the people along even better with you. And concerning other things Berlin has started, I won't say Berlin has delivered everywhere, but we have at least started 4 or 5 years ago when we started this energy transition and transport transition. We have the formal recognition of climate emergency in Berlin, which led to a number of measures towards climate protection. For example, the solar obligation for new buildings, the combustion engine-free city in the medium term, which is roughly 2030. The promotion of energy efficient building renovation. We are promoting timber construction in public buildings. And we convert our state-owned fleet of cars and lorries towards electricity drive or driven. The transport sector, which is responsible for 1/3 of Berlin's carbon dioxide emissions. There has to be, and there has already been established, a paradigm shift towards the environmental modes of transport. We have already started to transfer the diesel buses of our public service into electricity buses. Already 15% of the buses are already electrical driven, and by 2030 it will be 100%. I think we have a very ambitious plan here in Berlin, and I could go on like that for, especially in transport, which is my key area, for 10 or 20 minutes, but I want to make a stop here. Perhaps you have some more questions or you want to add something from your end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think I'm joining Luca and Mila when I say that we are all very happy to hear about those new bike lanes, because that is definitely a daily issue that I think we all face. And it's also great to hear that a paradigm shift is beginning to take place. I think coming from the YCCB conference, there's a lot of improvement really in every area, but I'm happy to see that so much is taking place already. And I would say, since it's a very warm day and the conference has been very long so far, I would say that this is the point to simply thank you again, Mr. Staatssekretär, for being here. Thank you, Luca and Mila, for taking the time for being us. Thank you to all our viewers and the audience in the live stream for being with us. And thank you especially to everyone who made YCCB what it was. So that includes the 6 voluntary media agents who ran the Instagram account as well. That includes Part Media Agency, and that includes, of course, all the experts. If you do want to rewatch or relive some moments of the conference, check out the YCCB website on the Senate website, where you can watch the live stream, the recorded live stream, and you can also follow us on Instagram at YCC Berlin. Thank you all for being a part of YCCB, and I think now is a good time to just say, enjoy the beautiful weather, enjoy your weekend, and see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Much success. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.